hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. I think last time we go through the course outlines and we just talk a little bit about chapter one. So my plan for today's lecture is we will trying to finish chapter one if we got sufficient times, and we do have some practice. I did upload some slides and practice questions in our WeChat group. If you are still not in the WeChat group, please join our WeChat group as soon as possible. The reason is because I will keep uploading the slides and practice questions in this WeChat group. Okay. And also, if you guys have any questions, concerns about these lectures, you can, send message uh, to me by email, or you can just type in our WeChat group. Okay. Both way are possibles. Okay. Um, so last time we did talk about, you know, where this word coming from, economies, right? So this is actually coming from Greek. So it's a Greek word which is means one who manage a household, one who manage a household. So actually we know, like, within a families we have a lot of housework, such as cook dinners, do the laundries, and wash the dishes. And I did ask you guys last time, like, who managed, who did this housework. Most of the students mentioned that my mom, right? So my question is, if your mom did everything within your families, is your total output, or is your family efficient? Like, is the total output of your family maximized or not? Not, right? Obviously no, right? So what is the major reasons why your mom cannot do everything? Limited resource, limited time. Exactly, limited strength. So one of the major constraint for your mom is time, right? So she has the same times you have, as your dad have, right? 24 hours per day, right? So therefore, each family members need share the burden of housework, right? So even though your mom may good at cook dinners, may good at do the laundries, may good at wash dishes, but she has a constraints. So therefore, you guys need to share some work, right? So, some of the students may like do the laundry or wash dishes, but not everyone want to cook dinners. The reason is because maybe you don't want to poison the whole families, right? And you still need to eat, right? So therefore, like, some of the students want to do the laundries, wash dishes. The reason is because you have a comparative advantage doing such a housework. Okay, you have a comparative advantage doing such housework. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, so comparing cooking dinners, you are relatively good at do the laundries. So that's the reasons you do the laundries. Maybe your dad wash dishes and your mom cook dinners. So therefore, if the if you guys allocate the times and the resource by doing different housework, the total output of your family will be larger than before. So that's reasons, you know, why we need take this course. So this course is telling us, this is a course telling us on the limited resource, one families manage a housework, one firms, allocates the resource and trying to produce the output as large as possible. And a nation's same reasons, like allocate the resource and trying to make the total output of the nations as much as possible. So that's why this is how the you know meaning for the economies. Okay, so it's starting from a family, then extend to a firm and extend this knowledge to our nations, etc. Okay, so as a economist or as a human beings, so at each days, you know, you need to face many decisions. So you know, as a policymakers from a government, you need to decide who will work. Okay, so this is a major question for labor economists. Okay, I think each nations they have a different criteria or different um, policies for year of the retirement. And in China, we have a gender difference. So females retire 5 years earlier than males. Okay, and for the workers, females retires at the age of 50s, I think. Like, males retire at the year of 55. And if you are working for the government, females retire at the years of 55 and males retire at the years of 60s. Okay, so, and also, like, we also have legal years to participate in the labor force. You know, normally it's in China, our criteria is 18 years old, so you are eligible to participate in the labor force. And I think different country, different nations has a different policies about what is uh, legal years to enter into the market, and what is year years or age of exit of the market. Okay, so that's quite important. The reason is because we do need peoples, right? We do need peoples to participate in the labor market to contribute, right? And so that's why, like, it's a major questions facing by labor economists. I think, like, uh, uh, different country has a different policies, right? So I know some other students from Indonesia, some other students from Malaysia, right? So what is years of the retirement in your countries? Do you guys have any ideas of the year of the retirement? Is there any major gender difference about this retirement years? Yes or no? Who can answer my questions? 60s. So is there any gender difference? So in China's, like, females have 5 years earlier, 5 years earlier than males, like, about the retirement. There is no gender difference for the retirement age for different gender in Indonesia. Okay, okay, 56 in Indonesia. In Mexico is 65. Oh, Mongolia has a gender difference. Okay, so female 55 and male 60 in Cambodia. In Russia, it's 60 for male, for men and 55 for females. Okay, so you know, Mongolia's and Russia and China basically quite similar, right? So and Cambodia's, right? There is a gender difference. Okay, so in China, like our policymakers is debating about whether we can extend the year of the retirement. The reason is because like right now we are lack of the labor force. Okay, we are lack of the labor force. So this is a huge argument in China whether we should extend the year of the retirement. I think this is also a big debate like in Russia a few years ago, right? And so this is kind of major decisions for the policymakers, right? And the second is what goods and how many of them should be produced. Okay, so you know, as a director of the firms, you need decide, right? So we have a resource and what kind of products are you going to produce, right? So during the COVID-19, we are trying to produce mask, right? We are trying to we are trying to produce as many as masks as possible, right? But right now it's not that case, right? We have a sufficient masks, right? And also like you need to decide how many of them should be produced each day, right? How many of them you should produce each month, right? Exactly, right? During that time we lack of the mask, we lack of the gloves, right? So we are trying to produce, right, as many as possible. The reason is because there is a huge demand over there, right? And we are lack of the supply, right? But right now, as I said, it's not that case anymore, right? And you know, obviously, if you are firm producing the other goods, the same reasons, right? Whether we need to produce such a particular goods or not, and how much of them should be produced, right? The reason is because we are lack of the resource, right? We are lack of the inputs such as labors, such as capitals, etc., such as the land, right? So those are the resources are limited. You cannot produce as many as you wish, right? So you need to analyze and make a decisions, right? Right? How many of them should be produced, right? And the third decision may be what resource should be produced in the productions. Okay, so let me give you guys examples. You can propose more. Okay, you can propose more. For examples, electricity. Obviously, we need electricity every day, right? So per unit of the electricity can be produced by different resources, right? For examples, uh, you can use natural gas. You can use a coal. You can use a wind. You can use a hydro, etc. Right? We can use a different resources, right, to produce the same electricities, right? But different firm use a different resource. Why? Why? Different firm use a different resource. Why? The price. What kind of price? Coal and efficiency factors, cost and efficiency. Geographical reasons, limited resource. It's limited, right? So if you are the firms, okay, if you are the firms, there is no any government interventions about the productions. So the only thing you care is profit maximization, right? Profit maximizations, right? The only thing I care is that if I'm a policymakers of the firms, right? I'm a director of the firms. The only thing I care is the profit, right? So what is profit equals to? Profit equals the total revenue minus the total cost, right? So therefore, I care the difference between those two terms, right? Difference between those two terms. I want this difference as large as possible. So that's why the profit will be maximized, right? So I'm trying to make this total revenue as large as possible and trying to make this total cost as small as possible, right? So therefore, eventually the difference will be maximized, right? So here, suppose the coal price is lowest. The coal price is the lowest. So therefore, I'm trying to use the coal as an input to produce electricity. The reason is because it will make my profit maximized. However, if you are using coal as the input to produce electricity, what kind of byproducts it will make? It's burning coals will not only making electricity, it still will making some byproducts such as pollution. Exactly, right? So if you are policymakers of the firms, of the government, you need to think about it, right? Even though the natural gas is a bit more expensive than the coal, right? However, it's a less polluted resource, right? So you need to balance the environment and the firm's profit, right? So whether you want blue sky or not, right? So that's called the cost of the blue sky, right? We can have the blue sky. However, it's kind of costly. The reason is because by burning natural gas or by using hydro, it's kind of a bit more expensive just simply burning the coal as the input to produce electricity. So therefore, different parties has a different project objectives. So therefore, they think differently. So that's why they make different decisions. So that's why it makes things so complicated, right? So there is a no true or false, but um, each party they are only chasing their own interests, right? They have their own objective. Any questions? Any questions? Is this clear enough? Okay, so that's why, even though, we are making the same products, we can decide what kind of resource we are trying to use to produce, right? So we have a different considerations or criteria. The reason is because it's all depends which party you belong to, right? Which party you belong to, which party you stands for, right? And what is your own interests, right? And the last question is at what price should the good be sold, right? So, obviously you need to decide the selling price in the market if there are only a few firm in this market, right? So my question is why, if there are so many firms in the market, it's difficult for you to decide the price for these commodities? Why? Why, if there are so many firms in the market, it's difficult for you to decide the price for these commodities? Everyone wants to make many choices. The product cost might be different. High competition. Exactly. You guys, some of the students got the point. So if there are so many firms in and selling the similar products, it, it's quite difficult for you to decide the price in this of this commodity. The reason is because you are facing so many competitors, right? So if you are charging higher price than the others, right? So the consumer will switch to the other sellers, right? So in this case, at what price should the good be sold? In this case, is the market only with a few firm or only with one firms, right? So you are lack of the competitors or you only have a few competitors, right? So therefore, this firm has the power to influence the price, right? In this market. Is that right? So can you guys give some examples for this case? So the firm can decide or can have some influentials for the market price. Can you propose some examples? Can firm can decide the price or can firm can have some power to influence the price in this market? Views, views, exactly. The reason is because which country are you from? Okay, so how many providers for the fuels in your countries? In China, we only have two to three. So therefore, actually, those two companies has very strong electricity, obviously, right? Electricity in China, we only have a one. So, you know, so that's why, electricity company can decide the price, obviously. So that's called a monopoly. The reason is because, if you refuse the pricings offered by these companies, by this electricity company, you have to use candle instead, right? Obviously, it's not acceptable, right? So that's why, in this case, electricity company in China is kind of very powerful, it's they he can decide the electricity price in China, right? Gasoline company, exactly. Gasoline company, as I said, in China we only have a two. Okay, water. In China we only have one. So for this case, right? For those case, exactly, you guys propose a lot of good examples, and also telephone service. Okay, phone service. In China, we only have three. So therefore, those firms has a very strong powers to influence the price. Okay. The reason is because we don't have so many alternatives, right? So you have to pick one of them, right? And for the electricity or waters, we only have one. Okay, so therefore, if you want, you know, if you reject the price, you have to of the about the electricities, you have to use the candles, right? Right. And if you reject the price from the water companies, you have to dig the waters from the wells, right? Or from the waters, from the rivers, right? So that obviously it's not that convenient, right? So that's why, those are called monopoly markets. Only one firm in the market. So in this case, firm has the strongest power to influence the market price. The reason is because this firm can decide the price in these markets. The reason is because he's the only sellers in this market. Okay, so therefore, those are the examples. Economy face many decisions, right? So economists need to decide, right, who will work, right, and what resource should be produced in the productions at what price, etc. Right? So that's why, as I said, you need to face many decisions, right? So you need to think critically and analytically. So that's why we need to take this course. This is kind of motivations. Okay. So we know, we are living in the real world. We are living in the real world with a scarce resource. And but obviously, our our desire is unlimited. So our resource is limited, but our desire is unlimited. Obviously, as a human beings, we want as many products as possible, right? If you have a mansions, you want two mansions, right? If you have a sports car, you want two sports car, right? If you have a two, you want three, right? So our desire is unlimited, but our resource is limited. So that's why, you know, you have to make a decisions, right? In order to make the total output as large as possible to meet your desires. Even though, obviously you cannot fully meet your requirement or your desire, but you are trying to make a better decisions, trying to close your desires, right? Trying to make fulfill your desires, right? Trying to, like you know meet your goals, right? But obviously, your desire is unlimited, but that's a reasons, you have to not only make decisions, you have to make a good decisions. That's a thing, right? That's a motivations why we need, as an individual, as a firm, as a nations, every day, every moment, you need to make decisions. So this course is trying to leading you to use economic knowledge, trying to leading you to make a better decision as a human beings, as a firms, as a nations. Any questions? So that's a motivations for this course. That's a motivation for this course. So here is a definition for economics. Economics is just simply a study of how society manage its scarce resource, right? How society manages a scarce resource. So for example, you always need to face a questions like, whether I should buy the cars or I should pay the down payment for the house. So you need to face the decisions, right? So what kind of products I'm going to purchase, cars or house, right? Why you need to make such a decisions? Why you make such a decisions? Car or house? Exactly. Because I cannot afford both, right? So limited budget, right? Most of us facing limited budget, right? So that's why you need to make decisions, right? Car or house, right? Food or clothes, right? You cannot have both. So that's why you need to make a wise decisions, right? Every day you have to make a choice, right? And for these chapters, we have three major sections. The first one is how people make decisions. So this part is individual decisions. Individual decisions. The second part, so how people make decisions. The second part is interaction between peoples. You know, we are living in a real world or living in a societies. We interact with each others, right? Obviously, as an individual, as a firms, as a nations, right? So people interact with each others, firm interact with each others, nation interact with each others. One people's action will influence the others. Is that right? Yes, meet equilibriums. So we will talk about this later. Okay, so here is examples, right? So buyers and sellers, right, together to determine the price and quantity of the goods, right? So one buyers, one seller, or group of buyers and a group of sellers, right? They meet with each other, for example, in a real market, right? So they discuss, right? So at what quantity and at which price, right? I'm going to make a deal, right? So it can be a real market, it can be a online market, right? So sometimes we don't need to meet with each other to make the deals, right? So you can purchase the products online, right? And so that's why so it's called people's interactions, right? Sometimes, as I said, your actions will affect the other persons, right? For examples, for examples, you purchase a perfume, right? You purchase a perfumes, right? And you purchase a perfume for who? Obviously for yourself, right? You use these perfumes, right? But as your classmates or your neighbors or your friends, they still can enjoy the smells, right? Because they can smell, right? They can ha- have the good smells, right? So therefore, like your actions actually benefit bystanders, right? Right? So, or the other example is maybe like planting flowers, right? If you're planting flower in your garden, in your backyard, your neighbors will enjoy the flowers. The reason is because they can see the flowers, they can smell your flowers, right? Obviously, you are not planting the flowers for your neighbors. You are planting the flowers for yourself, right? So as I said, sometimes your action may benefit the others. Obviously, sometimes your action may hurt the others. Can you propose some examples? Can you propose some examples? Let me, when I buy food, I can also share it with my neighbors. Uh, that's a different story. That's a different story. You know, the reason is because my example is I did it just simply for myself. But the thing is, this is just for myself. But the externality effects will benefit the bystanders. My example is like I planting the flowers is not for my neighbors, but my neighbors actually can see my flower, can smell my flowers, right? When I view the products unfairly, the seller can be affected as poor review would hinder people from buying their products. Asking buyers how much they will be eating durian in front of the people who don't like the durian. Exactly, that's a good example, right? Exactly. So you enjoy the durians, right? You like the durians. Or smoking in front of the others, right? You like smokings. You enjoy the durian, but not everyone like durians, right? So that's why, like smokings and eating durian is not allowed in airplane. Is that right? You cannot eating durian in the airplane, right? The reason is because not everyone enjoy your smell, right? So that's why, like your actions actually affect the other persons, right? In a negative way. Obviously, maybe firms, right? If this is a polluted companies, right? Obviously, you want a profit maximization, but your action affect your neighbors, right? You because you make a pollutions, right? When I export products, I also stimulate the country's economy growth. Uh, that's kind of a different stories. This is obviously and the direct effects, right? My example is like this is a side effect, right? Like your actions your action is for yourself, right? Eating a durian produce aluminums, right? So those can, like eating durian may affect the other person. The reason is because not everyone likes the smells of the durians, right? And producing, like aluminums make pollutions, right? So your neighbor will be polluted, right? So therefore, like planting flower is for yourself, right? And your neighbor will enjoy your flowers, right? So your action has a positive effect and a negative effects, right? So as I said, I'm proposing this example is because we want us to know, like we are not living in a real world alone. We will interact with the others, right? And the third section is the trends that affect economy as a whole, right? So we were going to going through those three sections in details for those 10 different principles in economies. So for the first one is called how people make decisions, right? So you need to make decisions how much they work, what they buy, how much they save, how they invest their savings, right? Obviously, as I said, like we both ourselves in order to keep clean and fresh. The people who approach will feel comfortable as well. Yes, you're right. Yes. And you know, let me talk these sections. How much they save, how they invest their savings. Okay, so obviously during the past few years, we got hard times. One of the major reasons is because COVID-19, right? And many people's like out of their job, right? Out of the job. So therefore, you know, um, different nations, different government imposing different policies, trying to promote our economies, right? So one of the very direct way to promote the economy is encourage consumptions, right? Encourage the consumptions. We know the income it just simply equals consumption plus savings, right? So if we have a high saving, we will have a low rate of the consumptions, right? If you have a high rate of the saving, obviously you have a high rate of the consumptions, right? So at during this period of time, people are trying maybe like trying to save more. The reason is because their total income shrinks, right? So I want to hear some policies. I want to hear some policies from your government. Like, did your government any kind of policy trying to, encourage people to consume more and save less? So what kind of policy your government propose? I want to hear some stories from you guys. Did you guys get my questions? Is this clear enough? What kind of policies specialized in encourage people to consume from your countries? As I said, the ultimate goal is what trying to promote the economies, right? Or accelerate the economies. Any stories, any policies from your countries? Let me give you guys an example from China's from Chinese views. Okay, subsidize university student to purchase stationery goods. Give money. How much money giving to you directly? I I I I heard some countries actually giving real monies from, for example, Canada. Some people actually receive 1500 per month, 1500 per month from subsidization from subsidized of the government of the Canadas. They just give you the free money. R RM 150s per years for stationery good. Okay, rates the basic salary for employees. Yes, that's good. So giving the some money uh, for purchasing the stationery goods, and also like for the employees, just giving the guarantee the basic salaries. And in China, we are not just simply giving the money directly. we we distribute coupon, food coupon, or restaurant coupon, food coupon or restaurant coupons. Why we are giving the coupon instead of the money directly? What is the advantage by imposing such a policies? To check the consumer to come again, in Mexico, the government give money to the young people in order to start business and employ other peoples. Oh, okay, that sounds good. Like, so this money is only used for starter business, right? Not using for the others, right? So government may give some loans like in China as well. So in China, I'm giving you guys a reason why Chinese government giving coupon instead of money to the individual. The reason is because in China, if the government think like, I'm giving you give you guys the money directly, you may save, not consume. The reason is because at this moment, you you out of the job, like you are more pessimistic for the futures. You are trying to save for the future as much as possible, so you still don't want to consume, right? So but if I'm giving you guys food coupons and restaurant coupons, you have to spend these coupons. The reason is because it's useless, right? Other than consume, like it cannot be safe for the futures. So that's why the government just use the money to buy the food and as a coupon giving to you. Okay, or as a restaurant coupon or food coupon giving to you. So you have to spend there, right? So like it's kind of like helping those restaurants, helping those food companies, like to help them, right? Somehow to subsidize them, like keep the you know uh keep the like certain amounts of employees being employed, right? The reason is because they need to hire, right? So to solve this kind of problem, in Russia we have the coefficient, which is the actual payment to our salaries. It is paid to employees out of the far northern or equivalent localities. Okay, so as I said, like different countries may propose like different policies. The reason is because sometimes, especially during the hard times, we do need policymakers to intervene the economies to help us, right? So therefore, like this is the other ways, like why we need to take this course. Like the reason is because we actually need to propose a good policies, right? Sometimes some policy is not very that effective, or sometimes some policy is not that valid. So therefore, like in order to helping the real peoples, right, we need a good policies. So that's why we are not only making decision by ourselves, we also need to give good suggestion to the policymakers, right? Or eventually maybe you are being hired by the government, right? You need to make a decisions, a wise decision to help the poor, right? To help the peoples, right? To make nations more strength, right? Okay. Okay, let me stop here and we can have a 10 minutes break. Okay. Okay, let's have a short break.
wanna spend your night. Three's feeling way too tight. So if it's not me, then I'm probably gonna run it over me or the PS5. Tell me which of us is more your type. Seems like you can't decide. So if it's not me, then I'm probably gonna run it over.
My love, no, I'm in for the long ride. I'm not playing games of the wrong kind. Could be keeping secrets and telling lies, but I'm just don't lie. And I can promise you I'll never play you out by the way to show you I'm grateful. So I'm begging you, 2 minutes only, you'll get a trophy. I'm staying faithful. It's me and the PS5. Tell me why you making me decide. Please don't you see I'm lying? So if you don't leave, I can find a way to win you over. Me and the PS5. Let you know where I'ma be at night. Score's never been this high. So high. So if you don't leave, I can find a way to win you over.
Tumblr bitches, pop your bubble gum for these Tumblr bitches. Pop your bubble gum for these Tumblr bitches. Pop your bubble gum for these Tumblr bitches.
Spin me around and around, turn me upside down. Spin me around and around, let me feel. Spin me again and again, till I'm upside down. Calling again and again, my name. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Tell me I'm the only one. I've been lost and found. I've been on the ground. I've been hiding out while shouting out. You would open up. Oh, spin me around and around, turn me upside down. Spin me around and around, let me feel. Spin me again and again, till I'm upside down. Calling again and again, my name. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Tell me I'm the only one. I've been in the cold. I've been digging gold. I've been crying out. Been lying about everything but now. Oh, the ground. I've been hiding out while shouting out. You would open up. Oh, spin me around and around, turn me upside down, spin me around and around, let me feel. Spin me again and again till I'm upside down, calling again and again my name. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. Hold me, tell me I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming.
There's a party downtown, someone said that you're coming by. Let me know when you're here, meet me up for a smoke outside. I regret what I said, didn't mean it. Yeah, believe me, I guess I take it back. There's a party downtown, someone said that you're coming by. I know that summer was a big mistake. I just hope that we're still okay. You always pick me up and let me down. We're spinning around, losing our minds. Damned if we do, damned if we don't, damned if we give in what we want. And I always pick you up and let you down. We're spinning around, losing our minds. Damned if we do, damned if we don't, damned if we give in what we want to what we want. There's a party downtown, we are drunk and the music's loud. I forget that we're done, that you're back with your girlfriend now. For a minute, I'm back where we started. In that hallway, we couldn't keep our hands away from each other. Did you ever tell her? I have to sleep in the bed I made. I don't sleep much at all these days. 'Cause you always pick me up and let me
Okay, let's
down.
continue.
We're spinning around, losing our minds. Damned if we do, damned if we don't, damned if we give in what we
Yes.
want.
Okay,
And I
great.
always
Okay,
pick
as I said, like, you will make a good policy for the nations. As a director of the firm, you are trying to make a good policies or make a good decisions for our companies, right? For our firms, right? So here's how much they save and how they invest their savings, right? Like, different peoples have a different decision. Some people just put the money in the bank, right, to get the interest rate, right? And some people want to buy the stock, and some people buy the mutual funds, right? So, and some people buy purchase real estate, right? Buy the house, right? So apartments, etc. And different people has a different way to invest their savings, right? Obviously, as I said, like, during this hard period of the times, right? Government are trying to encourage people to consume more. The reason is because we want to try to reduce the high rate of unemployment, right? So therefore, people have to spend their money, right, in the market. However, uh, as I said, because we are lack of the we our income are reducing, right? So therefore, we are more pessimistic for the future. So we are trying to save more. So therefore, like, different countries or different governments are giving the different policies, right? For example, some like some government just giving the money directly to their citizens, right? Some government like China giving the food coupons or restaurant coupons, right? Like to helping those restaurant, right? To helping those food company restaurant, right? To 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 helping them to maintain their business, right? So 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 let's talk about the first parts. As I said, like how people make decisions. The first sections is we have three different bullets. The first one is the people face trade-off. Okay, let me talk about this in details. People face trade-off. So you have a burgers. Okay, you have a burgers. So it's cause there is no such things as a free lunch. So if you want the burgers, you need to sacrifice something. What? You have to sacrifice the noodles. Okay, the reason is because, as I said, you cannot have them all. The reason is because you have a limited budget for your breakfast. So you either have a burger or noodles. You need to make a choice. Okay, so that's called a trade-off. So one increase, the other has to decrease. Okay, so there are tons of the good examples from the realities. For example, the first one is guns or butters. Okay, here's guns stand for the national defense. Butter stands for helping the living standard of the citizens. Okay, so the government has a limited budget, right? So you are either buy the missiles or guns, or you will spend more money for buy the bread or butters, right? To help increase the living standard of the individuals, right? And as individuals, you need to make decisions, food or clothing, right? The reason is because you have a limited budget, right? And each days you need to arrange your times, right? How many hours you are going to work and how many hours is for your leisure times, right? Some people prefer to work more. Some people want to sleep more, right? So that's your choice. The total hours is fair to everyone, 24 hours. So you need to make decisions, right? Calories versus yes, keep fit. Exactly, right? So you need to make decisions, right? Environment levels versus level of income, right? Environment versus level of income, right? So for examples, like exactly coal as an input, right? So coal as an input to produce electricity, obviously it will increase the level of income. The reason is because coal, the price of the coal is cheaper than natural gas, right? But if you consider the environment, you may need to use natural gas as an input to produce electricity, right? So therefore, you need to balance, right? Which one you prefer? You want more environment, better environment, or you want level of income, right? Higher level of income. So that's a very difficult decision for the government, right? That's a very difficult decision for the government. I remember back to 6 years ago, Beijing is severely polluted, and so by the smog. And back back to that times, like Chinese government trying to use more natural gas as an input to produce electricity as well as heat. So instead of using coal, so therefore it will like reducing our level of income, and also it will increase unemployment rate. However, it will helping our environment. Okay, so that's kind of balance. Okay, that's a hard. That's kind of balance. So obviously we need income, but we also need better environment. So that's quite, you know, crucial decisions facing by the government. You need to make a decision at this moment. All right. And there are tons of the good stories, like in China and in different countries about this part. Each level of the government need to make decisions about that. And efficiency and equities. Can any of you guys explain this part? Efficiency and equity. So efficiency means society gets the most that it can from scarce resource. So this means the size of the pizza as large as possible. That's called efficiency. Equity means benefit of those resources are distributed fairly among the member of the society. You just simply distribute the pizza fairly, right? So that's called equity. Efficiency means make the pizza as large as possible. Okay. So can any of you guys explain why those two are trade-off? Why those two are trade-off? Efficiency may force some to work extra hours, but some who don't want to work for the actual will complain for equity. Close, but not that accurate. Close, but not that accurate. Because the government cannot prioritize both of them at the same time since they contradict each other. Actually, yes, you are right. Though both two are contradict to each other. So one increase, the other has to decrease. So that's why we call that's called a trade-off, right? So one gains, the other will lose. So my question is why they are trading off with each others.
The more who emphasize for equity will, somehow let the one who have the more strength to work will become lazy because due to government say of it is on or equity or what, so we don't have to work that hard because we won't have extra money or what. So it's all about equity. So the pizza will be decreased by time.
Exactly, you got the point. Thank you. Exactly. Yes, there are conflicts. So no, there are conflicts. They trading with each other, trade off with each other. So these students got the points. They are trade off. The one of the reason is because, as she said, if the government only care about equity, why I need to work more? Like if the you know more talented peoples, right? More talented peoples receives same salary as a normal persons, right? So why I need to be a talented? Why I need to work hard? I would just behave like a normal persons, right? So therefore, eventually, if you only care about equity, if you only care about equity, so the size of the pizza will become small. The reason is because I don't need to work hard, right? I would just simply receive the same stuff as the other people, right? You care like fairly distributed among the peoples, right? So that's the thing. It will shrink the size of the output. So therefore, it will be not efficient, right? If you care about equity. But if you only care about efficiency, what will be the problem? If you only care about efficiency, what will be the problem? what is the bad consequence if you only care about efficiency? Exactly, like the rich people are really rich, the poor people will be really poor. The reason is because rich people has assets, right? So when they sleep, they still get the income. But the poor people, as I said, they need to sustain to work. Otherwise, they don't have enough money. All right. So if they are out of the job, they are starving. Right. So therefore, government also need to care about those poor, right? Otherwise, the society will be not stable anymore, right? Right. The crime rate will be increased, right? So the one who less stress will be cast off eventually. Yeah. So that's why we need to balance those two, right? We need to balance those two. Both of them are good, but one increase, the other has to decrease. So therefore, you need to balance. So my second question is, as a developing country, which one you care more? As a developing country, which one you care more? So as a developing country, which one you care more? Developing country will more focus on efficiency for sure. Why? Why developing country care more efficiency for sure? Developed care more equity, developing care more efficiency. Exactly, you got the right answer. Why developing country care more efficiency? Because developing country want to make the pie a lot bigger. Exactly. So initially you want a large pizza, right? This pie as large as possible first. The reason is because initially, as a developing country, the total output is really small. So even though if you only care about equity, this small pie, only belong giving to one individual is not sufficient or it's not enough. So I want to make this pie as large as possible. Then I care about equity. So such as North European countries, so they care more equity, right? So the gap between the rich and the poor is small from those North European countries, right? But for the developing countries, the gap between the rich and the poor is huge. But eventually, when they become a developed country, they will more caring about equity. So this is the procedures. As a developing countries, we want to make the pizza or the pie as large as possible. Then we are caring about equity, thinking about how to fairly distribute this pie. Okay, so that's why different government has a different strategies, right? It's all depends, right? Which which one is more crucial at this moment, right? Whether you are developed country or developing countries, right? Any questions for this part? Any questions for this part? Okay, so that's clear, right? So that's called a trade-off, right? One increase, the other has to decrease. The second principle is called the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Okay, so for examples, decision require comparing cost and benefits of alternatives. For examples, whether to go to college or not, right? So you need to make decisions at this moment, right? Make a decision at this moment, whether go to the college or to work, right? Sorry. Whether to study or go out for on a date, whether to go to the class or sleep in. That's a decision, right? Right, those are the small decisions, and this one is big decisions, right? As I said last time, right? Why go to the college, not go to the market directly? Why? Why? Why you guys make such a decision? You all goes to the college, right? When enter into a Chinese university. Why? Why not to work? Going to the working directly after high school would mean the low chance of high salary. Further education, more opportunity for the future. Exactly, right? Purchase knowledge first. So eventually, people want a high pay in the futures, right? You got decent job, right? But obviously, if you enter into the market after high school, for the normal person, you end up low pay, right? For the normal persons, you end up low pay. To increase the self-strength to get better, stronger capability in the market in the future. Exactly, right? You just think about like training yourself first, right? To learn some knowledge. Eventually, like you want to become a high productivity person, right? So therefore, you got high chance to get a decent job, right? So that's, but as a human being, you have a limited time, right? So therefore, if you go to the college, you miss the opportunity. So that's called the opportunity cost. You are here, as I said, it's not simply pay the tuition fee, right? Tuition fee is a very small amount of the cost for you. What kind of cost is higher than the tuition fee? You're missing the opportunity to enter into the market. You're missing the opportunity to enter to the other university, right? So those are the opportunity cost. Those are the opportunity cost when you become a student from Beihai, right? So the cost to be a student of the Beihai is very high. It's not simply the tuition fee. So from an understanding of the economist, right? So you are here to take the lectures. You cannot go out for a date simultaneously. So therefore, that's taking the lecture also have an opportunity cost, right? So therefore, for this kind of concept in economics, we think the cost is not simply the money out of your pocket. Sometimes this opportunity cost is way higher than the money directly out of your pocket. Any questions? Any questions? So we value the cost higher than we used to be, right? Okay, here is a real life examples, LeBron James. So he make a different decisions as a normal person. So he skips the college and goes straight from high school, right? So from the NBA histories, I think there are only a few players skips college and go straight from high school, such as LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Garnett, I think. So those three, and if you guys know more, you can add the names, okay? So those three NBA players, they skip the college. Why he skips the college? Is because he's a bad student? Now the college accept him? Yes or no? To practice more and gain experience. Why he skips the college? Most of people don't skip the college. People go to college hoping to earn more money. Earning millions of dollars in is much more than what a person could earn even they get to the university. Exactly. But he has already know how much they make to create a sports career, to focus on things. Think about the concept which we just mentioned, opportunity cost, because he has skill in baskets balls. Think about the concept we just mentioned. He saw the opportunity cost, opportunity that he took the opportunity. NBA is the final aim to them, and they knew it. They have the confidence to go to the field directly because his future industry is not linked to the study. So let me explain and whether it makes sense to you guys or not. Okay, so if he go to the college, if he went to the college, he will meet he will miss millions of the dollars per year, right? So for us, if we go to the college, not not go to the work, we may earn 60,000 RMB. Sorry, we may earn 60,000 RMB per year, right? So that's way forgone for entering to the college, right? But for him, if he went to the college, he will miss millions of the dollars salaries, right? If we have a millions of dollars salary waiting for us after high school, we may change our decisions, right? Is that right? So he decided to skip the college. He is a rational person. I decide to go to college. I also a rational person. The reason is because our opportunity cost to be a college student is different. He missing millions of the dollar each year. I only miss 60,000 RMB each year, right? So that's a huge difference. So that's why we make a different decisions, right? He is a rational. I'm also rational, right? He make a good choice. I also make a good choice, right? Are you guys agree? The major difference is our opportunity cost to be a college student are huge different, right? He will miss a lot if he become a college student. Exactly, you got the correct answer, Rebecca. Okay, any questions? Okay, so the major difference, as I said, here is the opportunity cost. Okay. So as I said, if I have $1 million contract waiting for me, like after high school, I may skip the college, right? The reason is because that's too that's too much, right? So therefore, like I don't want to be a college student, right? But normal persons, we don't have such a big contract waiting for us, right? We only have a 60,000 RMB per year waiting for me if I skip the college and enter to the market right after high school, right? So that's why I just reject these offers, right? And to be a college student. But LeBron James, no, right? So he decided to be a professional basketball players right after high school. Okay. We cannot say he's insane. He's a rational person. Okay. Okay, then we are going to talk about rational people. Think at margin. So margins in English, margin means what? Margin means edge. Margin means edge. Okay, margin means change a small and incremental adjustment to our existing plan of the actions. So let me give you guys examples. Maybe you guys can better understand why rational people think at margins. So suppose we have a airlines with 200 seats, and the total cost for this airline is 100,000. So therefore, you can take the average, right? So average cost for each seat is 500. So therefore, suppose this airline will depart within 5 minutes and you still have a 3 seats empty. You have a 3 seats, 3 seats, three left. Okay, you have 3 seats left. So what kind of price are you going to sell? How much are you going to sell for each seat if this airplane will depart within 5 minutes? Think about these questions. Double the price? Why? Why am I going to double the price? $300 cheap price. Lower than $500. Which is a decent price are you going to offer? Are you going to willing to selling cheap price? How cheap? 250 to 300, 250. Here we have an assumption is this is not a dynamic game. This is a one action game. So it will never happens again. Okay. This is only one time, one shoot game. Okay. So we are not going to play this game anymore. So, but in the realities, this will be different. Obviously, like, if you are selling at a very low price, people will wait for the last minutes, right? That's called a dynamic game. But here we assume this is a one shoot game. Okay. The marginal cost is low, so we can lower than 500. So everyone agree lower than 500, right? Everyone agree lower than 500. Is that right? Okay, how much lowers? How much lowers? 200? 100? 250? How about $50? How about $10? How about $5? 300? How about $5? How about $2? So I said this is a one shoot game. Okay, $1. So let's think about in a rational ways. Okay, let's think about in a rational ways. So if you keep these 3 seats empty, how much extra money you earn? How much extra money you earn? If you keep these 3 seats empty? Zero, right? I make zero because those 3 seats are empty, right? And how much extra cost that you need to pay? How much extra cost that you need to pay? How much extra cost? No, these 3 seats extra cost. The extra cost is also zero. Whether you sell or not, if you keep these 3 seats empty, so I don't need to pay the extra cost. The reason is because the total cost is there, right? The total cost is there. This seat's empty or not, I already paid the $10,000, right? There is no actual cost for me, right? If I sell this ticket, I need to pay the actual, right? But if I'm not selling this actual, if I'm not selling this seats, I'm not paying the actual, right? Is that right? So this one this $10,000 is a fixed, right? Whether I'm selling or not is fixed, right? It's fixed there. It's not actual cost, right? So actual benefits is zero, actual cost is zero. So I got zero. Is that right? But if I'm selling this ticket, okay, if I'm selling this ticket, obviously I get extra payment, right? You need to give some money to me. Otherwise, I'm not allowing you to get into the airplane, right? So this is X. Okay. And this is the price for each ticket. And minus what? Actual cost. If I'm selling the tickets, so what is the actual cost for here? Actual cost. Actual here cost Y. What is the actual cost? What is the actual cost if I'm selling this ticket? Exactly. So if I'm selling the ticket, the actual cost is passenger get in, I'm giving you a bag of peanuts and a can of soda, right? That's actual cost, right? A bag of peanuts and a can of soda, right? I'm not selling these tickets, I don't need to give the persons a bag of peanuts and a can of soda, right? So that's an actual cost. So therefore, you are just comparing the x and y, right? If the x is greater than y, so if you value a bag of peanuts and a can of soda is $5, if the price of the ticket is higher than $5, you are going to sell the ticket. The reason is because x minus y is greater than is positive, it will be greater than zero, right? So the positive always better than zero, right? Positive number is always better than zero. So therefore, this telling us rational people is comparing at margin. It's nothing to do with the average cost for each seats, right? So it's nothing to do with this $500. We are not comparing these numbers with these numbers. We are just simply comparing the edge, right? Comparing the margins, right? So as long as the price is higher than a bag of peanuts and a can of soda, I'm going to sell the tickets. Here, as I said, I'm just assuming this is a one shoot game. Okay. But in the reality, it's a dynamic game. So if people observing, okay, at the last minute, you will selling at a very low price for the air tickets, I'm going to wait for the last minutes. So that will be not work. But here's, as I said, it's we are waiting in the last minutes. The reason is because this is one shoot games. Okay. Okay, this is one shoot games. Okay. So we don't have a previous experience about that, right? But as a sellers, you are willing to do that. The reason is because, as I said, people think at margins. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. And my next question is waters versus diamonds. Which one is more expensive and why? Waters and diamonds, which one is more expensive? Diamonds, right? Diamond is more expensive than waters. From our observation and understanding, obviously diamond is more expensive than waters, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that water is not important, right? Yeah, in some situation, water, right? Especially when you in the desert, right? But most of the times, diamond is more expensive than waters, right? But as I said, as Lisa said, like it's not it doesn't mean the water is not important. Water is very important, right? Yeah, but normally diamond is more expensive than waters. But why the diamond is more expensive? Yeah, water is more needed, but it's less expensive, right? So that's very contradictory, right? People perceive the marginal benefit of the diamonds as higher than water since diamonds are rare. Diamond is limited. Diamond is rare. So diamond is limited. Diamond is rare. So therefore, use this kind of knowledge. People think at margins. So trying to think about this knowledge, trying to applying this knowledge which we just simply covered. So the reason is because rational people think at the margin. That's why diamond is more expensive than waters. Explain why people think at the margin and then diamond will be more expensive than water. When an item is scarce, the price increase. Yes, the price increase. So can any of you guys, because it's hard to get? Yes, you got the point. It's hard to get. So therefore, you value the marginal benefit and the marginal cost for the each individuals. Think about it. Exactly. Exactly. So you are just simply comparing those two activities. You get a basket of the waters and you dig a carols of diamonds. Which one is more difficult? Obviously, dig a carols of diamonds, right? So therefore, so the difficulty to dig the diamond is way higher than get a basket of waters, right? So therefore, if the benefit is not that higher than the marginal benefit is not higher than the marginal cost, who will going to dig the diamonds? No one, right? So in order to induce the people to dig the diamonds, you need to label high price for the diamonds, right? The reason is because that's a marginal benefit for people to dig in the diamonds, right? But for the waters, since it's not difficult to dig the to get the waters, right? So therefore, you don't need to charge high price for the water. The reason is because as long as the marginal benefit is higher than the marginal cost, people will going to do it, right? So therefore, we are not lack of the waters. The reason is because even though the price for the water is low, still people are going to get the water for you. That's the thing, right? So major reason is marginal cost to digging the waters. is way lower than the marginal cost of digging the diamonds. That's a thing. Okay, so that's rational people think at margin. So that's why, even though water is more needed, but the diamond is more expensive for individuals. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Any questions, guys? So this story telling us, right? So this story telling us sometimes this product is very needed, but it's not expensive. The major reason is because people think at margins. So it all depends how difficulty to get or to obtain these commodities, right? To get additional unit of these commodities. Obviously, water is way easier than diamond, so that's why diamond is more expensive than waters. Okay, last one. People respond to incentives. As I said, people are rational, people are smart. So therefore, like you know, we make decisions all depends on the marginal benefits exceeds the marginal cost. As long as the marginal benefits exceed the marginal cost, we are going to take these actions. Otherwise, we are not going to take such actions, right? So that's called people response to action to incentives. For examples, Apple price increase. What are you going to do? I'm going to eat less apples. As a consumer, right? As a consumer, I'm going to eat less apples and eat more pears. So as a farmers, I'm going to growing more apples, right? So what is the consequence? What is the consequence? Apple price increase, eat more pears, and the farmers are growing more apples. There will be many apples left over, too many apples. Then the price for the apple will be the price for the apples. The price of the apple will decrease, right? So then you change your behavior again. You start to eat apple again, right? And eat less pears, right? So that's why you can see the price for the apples increase, decrease. It's like a wave, right? So now the commodity always increase. The price of the price for the commodity will always increase, always decrease. Most likely it's like a wave, increase, decrease, increase or decrease. The reason is because people respond to incentives, right? People are smart, people are rationals. Okay. And the second is a gas tax in European countries. Okay, so more small cars in European countries than in the US. The major reason is because there is a gasoline tax in the European countries. So therefore, the US people prefer to drive truck, drive big cars, and European peoples like you try are more likely to drive small cars. The reason is because there is a gasoline taxations in the European countries, so therefore the gas price in the European country is more expensive than the US. So that's why people are rational and response to incentives. Okay, the last one is the seatbelt drivers deaths decrease and pedestrian deaths increase. Okay, so seatbelt policies, right? So when we impose the seatbelt policies, as I said, what is the benefit? Did you guys remember? What is the benefit? The benefit is reducing the benefits of slowing drivers. The benefit is what? The benefit is the death rate for the drivers decrease, right? The death rate for the drivers decrease, right? However, it will make the pedestrian worse off. The reason is because there will be more carelessly drivings, right? The reason is because as the drivers they found they are more safer than before. I have a seatbelt, right? So there will be more carelessly drivings, right? And therefore, like this is another example for the people response to incentives, right? When we have such a policies, right? Some people behave differently, right? So drivers like trying to drive faster and more carelessly. So therefore, the car accident rate increase, but death rate for the driver decrease. But death rate for the pedestrian will increase. Okay, so this is another example. As I said, none of the policy is perfect. So that's why it do require us to think analytically and critically. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so this is the first section. The second section is how people interact with each others, right? And I think I don't have time to finish them all, so I will continue this part next week. So I did upload these slides to our WeChat group, so please download them as soon as possible, and you can take a look at these slides first. Okay, let me stop here and see you guys next week. Bye bye.
Professor.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor. Bye bye.
Professor.